Hello everyone, back at it again with another ice video. Oh, we've got some good conditions today. We're into March now. It's late ice season. The fish should be active. We've got a storm coming in later. It's actually really why I'm out here. This ice isn't going to last, and the snow isn't going to last too much longer with rain coming in and the warm temperatures that are forecast. So I'm trying to get my last few trips out onto the ice while the ice is still good. And we've got a lot of ice this year. It's probably, I think I measured it 18, 20 inches thick still. A lot of the snow on top of the ice has gone away. But we've got some, a little bit of slush, a little bit of puddling on the ice. But the ice itself is in great shape still. But it's not going to be that way for much longer. So the plan is to drill a bunch of holes, get up on the fish pretty quickly, and see what we can do. Alright, I made it out to my spot, and as usual, I'm going to drill a bunch of holes with my Milwaukee drill. Just flies through the ice. Like I said, we've got about 18-20 inches of ice, and that's no problem for this drill. But I will say it's getting a little bit softer. By the end of, I think it was 2 trips, and I didn't charge the battery was still on full. And that just means that we're losing some of that structural integrity of the ice that we had early ice, and it's getting a little bit softer. It just means we're getting towards the end of the season. It's still plenty safe. I'm picking out a few spoons to put on my snaps here. And I'm going to start big. I'm going to start with a 1/4 ounce Leech Flutter spoon. Part of my strategy with drilling the holes, the dozen or so holes that I drilled, was to cover water from deep to shallow. So usually late ice into March, the fish will start pushing more shallow than they had been. You know, midwinter, oftentimes you can find them in deep basins or maybe on some deep structure near basins. Look at that. It's almost over my scoop there. So that's about 18-20 inches of ice. Anyway, late ice, the fish start to push shallow again. Same as early ice. A lot of times you can find them shallow. I'm tipping my spoon with a piece of real worm. Like always, you could use whatever bait you have locally, whatever is easy for you to grab and store and use, and that's just what I use. It was interesting, a bunch of these holes had pickerel in them, and sometimes I could get them to go for the spoon. Other times they just come in and scare away all the panfish. This was a little pickerel, and he came in hot and fins up, and he wanted that spoon, and there was no keeping it away from him. So the game plan kind of today is start deep, work my way shallow towards dusk, and see what I can do. Now this pickerel, he's going back out into the very deepest hole, and I didn't find anything out deep, so I figured that was a good place for him, and he can bother the panfish out here that I couldn't find. So I've had just moving them a little bit away from me, because the pickerel will actively chase away and scare away panfish. You can watch them on camera. I'm fishing with a camera today. I can watch them come in and see how they behave. That's a little bass there going back down the hole. But even if the panfish don't spook immediately and swim away from the pickerel, they'll stop eating. You know, they hang closer to the bottom. They might come up to the lure. Oops, that was a bad toss. Let's see if we can get him down the hole. There he goes. Little pumpkin seed. They were eating the 1/4 ounce Leech Flutter spoon, but I felt like it wasn't ideal. It's a little bit big for the sunfish and the pumpkin seeds. The bigger ones have no problem with it, but they just didn't seem as fired up as I was hoping they would be. And that's okay. You know, I start big on purpose to try to cull out some of the bigger fish, and if they won't go for it, then I'll downsize, then I'll make some adjustments. It's not a bad bluegill. Just trying to get back out the hole. Go back the other way, buddy. So I decided I would grab a few more spoons, rig up a couple more rods. I've got a 1/10 ounce Swedish pimple there and a 1/16 ounce Leech Flutter spoon. I fished around with the Leech Flutter spoon, the 1/16 ounce one, for a little bit. And I caught some fish on it, but then I ended up going down to the 1/10 ounce copper ice Swedish pimple. So there's the smaller leech flutter spoon. The color's called Glow Fire Tiger Lightning. It's a pretty bright color. To me, it looks a little bit like a perch. I'm not sure if that's what they think it is down there, but it seemed to work okay. There really weren't a lot of bad choices on this trip, and like I said, I have good conditions, so I could get away with fishing a lot of different baits on this trip. It's just a question of like production. How fast am I going to get these fish? What calls them in? That bluegill was about 9 inches long. I thought he might go a little bit longer, but he's about 9. Not a bad bluegill. Certainly filled up my hand. What's next? I think this one was real pale. Yeah. When they get pale like this, usually they're coming out of deeper water. And maybe this one had just started moving shallow. See how washed out he is compared to the last one? Sometimes they get even more pale. Kind of like ghosts or something. I don't know. But that's how I usually find them in deeper water, all washed out like that. Oh, got another pickerel. I'm going to relocate him to a couple holes away too. I had some real monsters come in on camera and they would just stare at the spoon. Oh, I switched up to the Bay de Noc Dude Jigger. I feel like it has better action than even the Leech Flutter spoon. I'm really starting to like that spoon more and more. And it's a perfect kind of mid-size. It's not quite as big as the 1/4 ounce Leech Flutter spoon. But it's small enough to get the pumpkin seeds and bluegills to still eat it if you shake it enough. But it's also big enough to get some bass and pickerel on it. I was just bouncing around, trying different lures, seeing if I could pick off a few more by downsizing or just switching it up, switching sizes. Another nice bluegill. But they were pretty cooperative on this trip. I have no complaints. You can sort of tell by the length of AV cable I have out on the camera that I'm not fishing very deep at all now. And I think that the shallowest I got was about 5 feet of water. I mean, I could almost look down the hole and see the fish. They were super shallow. And remember, I've got 20 inches of ice. So if I'm in 5 feet of water, there's really not that much water below the ice. Another pumpkin seed. After a while, they kind of strip off the worm on the Dude Jigger or any spoon I'm fishing. And when you have just a little tiny bit of worm, sometimes they just peck at it. So I'm always ready to add some more worm to it, kind of sweeten the deal, and then I'm right back into the action. I don't know if it's the extra scent or just more presence in the water. Another nice bluegill. Going back down the hole. But fresh bait seems to help. What's that? I think that's another one of those pale bluegills from deeper water. He's looking a little more washed out than some of the others. Nice average size though on this trip. Pumpkin seed. You know what I haven't found this winter is some of the red breast sunfish, and those sunfish are really big. They can be a lot bigger than the bluegill, much bigger than the pumpkin seeds. And I don't know where they go in winter, but they weren't here. Even in the summertime, I might have to go through 100 pumpkin seeds and 100 bluegill to get some red breast. But when you do, some of those red breasts can be really big. Dinner plate sized. This one's more like tea saucer sized. He's still not bad though. Going back down the hole. I like fishing with the camera. It just eliminates a lot of the guesswork. What kind of fish are down there? What fish species are down there? I can see clearly there's a pickerel off to the side, and that's why the fish slow down. Oops, another bad toss on my part. Let's get you back down the hole, buddy. There he goes. With a fish finder, you lose a lot of that detail. You know there's fish down there. At least most of the time you do. Sometimes it could like be weeds or something that fool you for a little bit. But if the weeds are moving in and out, those are usually fish. Anyway, I like the camera in shallow water. As long as it's relatively clear, relatively shallow, I'd much rather fish with the camera. You learn so much more with the camera. I just have had a lot of trouble getting the camera to record this year, actually different cameras. So I'm fishing with an old camera that doesn't have the ability to record. I think that was it. No, it was a shorter trip, but very productive. I caught the heck out of them for a while. I even cut some of the footage out of this because after a while all the pumpkin seeds and bluegills start to look the same. And I had a pretty good trip. So if this was my last trip, it was a pretty good one. But I think I can squeak out at least one more weekend. Maybe another trip or two if I bring a plank out. But you know what? I'm getting kind of old to be planking out onto sketchy ice. So I think after another week or two, I'll be looking to go south for open water. Got to make sure I didn't leave anything else on the ice. Can't leave my trusty ice scoop behind. I think I got everything though. Alright, thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. Just like all my other videos, I'll list all the gear in the video description so you can duplicate what I was doing out here today and hopefully have some good success wherever you might be ice fishing around the country or around the globe. I'll catch you on the next one. See ya!